This is Observious bringing you guys another League of Legends commentary, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys game number 8 of the low elo marathon, where I'm going to be taking a support Alistar. I believe this does make sense. Fiddlesticks is going to go ahead and be jungling, Caston's going to probably be in the mid lane, Nasus is probably going to be in the top lane, and I believe I'm going to be supporting Tryndamere. This just makes sense as far as what I'm expecting to see here. Malzahar on the enemy team is probably going to be in the mid lane. There's no real smite on the enemy team. I'm a little bit surprised here. Not certain how it's all going to be split, but I'm really expecting Malzahar in the mid lane. Kog'Maw could probably cover it too. Looks like Nasus has disconnected, so it looks like it's going to start off maybe at as a 5v4 situation for this, and so I'm going to go ahead and ask Alistar if Trynd is going to top. I'm going to go ahead and ask Nasus if he's going to go to the top lane or if I'm going to go to the top lane. And so already our comp is a little bit messed up. Caston's going to go ahead and take the mid lane. Fiddlesticks is going to go ahead and be jungling. Already things are a little bit awkward for Team Blue. As if you guys can recall, unless it's a solo lane or if it's a duo, but in a 1v2 situation, I don't think Trynd is the strongest champion to defend a 1v2 lane. I mean, Alistar can support his minions with heals, CC people on top of towers. I'm confident for that, but both lanes are duo lanes, so that's a little bit scary. And luckily the enemy team doesn't appear to have realized that Nasus hasn't connected, as since they don't have a jungler, I don't see why they wouldn't invade at level 1 5v4. That's just something I'm not understanding. Nasus, of course, is still disconnected, so
minions have spawned.
I'm not certain how it's going to be split. Looks like I'm going to go ahead and go to that top lane. It looks like Leona now has disconnected, and so now it's going to go ahead and be a somewhat fair split. Kog'Maw, of course, going to be sided in the mid lane, showing that they are in fact playing safe. But now it's going to be a 4v4. I'm going to go ahead and Q along with Caston setting his silence, and Fiddlesticks is going to go ahead and get a good pull. Tryndamere even getting in some auto attacks. Maybe staying a little bit too long. I'm going to go ahead and see if he leeches some experience. Looks like he's not. Fiddlesticks even going to go ahead and possibly drain the guy down to death. Should do a smite anytime now. Yep, there it is. Or no, he smited the little golem after draining the big one to death. A little bit unorthodox there. Meanwhile, Tryndamere is going to go ahead and send his big ol' sword to the bottom lane to solo versus Kassadin, and it looks like there's going to be a Jarvan Malzahar split for the top lane. I'm very surprised here, as I don't know. I mean, I said Kog'Maw could do the solo mid, so I guess she can, but that is very, very interesting there. As far as how that's going, Kog'Maw's, of course, auto-attacking minions with his W, because that's apparently what you want to do. And I don't know, it's just a little bit odd of a split. Now Jarvan does have a really good poke, and while I'm looking away, Trynd is able to go ahead and get first blood versus Gangplank. Since this is a 4v4 situation, I'm going to be stuck versus the duo in a fairly backward situation, but nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and be punting Malzahar around, not really giving up any kills. My mana's getting a little bit low, though. Haven't had to use a health potion yet. I might do that very soon. CVing, just trying to see how far Gangplank is from the lane, since they have no jungler, and the enemy team not having a jungler and everyone being visible in lane for the most part really hampers what you can really CV early on. Unless, someone's missing, you can probably save your CV for that, but overall, I just think CV is a little bit weaker in these situations. I'm, of course, going to go ahead and headbutt Jarvan away, but he ate a Malzahar poison, and my mana and health is getting really low, so I'm probably going to have to recall soon, even though I have 2 potions. I guess maybe not. Leona's going to go ahead and reconnect, so Nasus still hasn't reconnected since he disconnected from the loading screen, so looks like things are going to be going out of Trent's favor, but at least he did pick up that first blood. And looks like with the minion aggro, he's not going to be able to be that aggressive onto Gangplank, and Gangplank's even going to go ahead and get a free parlay off on him. And so Tournament's going to start off in somewhat of a bad spot here. Now, of course, trying to see where Leona's going. I'm suspecting she's going to be heading down here, but I'm not quite seeing it. And so I'm just going to go ahead and keep blast hitting. I'm down to 1 potion left. My mana's gotten back to a reasonable level without recalling, which I'm a little bit worried about when I do have to recall, since I don't have someone to teleport, and I don't really have the ability to just push away an entire wave from the base of my tower, since that's somewhat impossible. And plus Malzahar has that huge pushing ability to clear waves. And so it looks like Tryndamere is getting his lane pushed by Gangplank now. He's not an AP Tryndamere, so he's not maxing his spin first. Although, I don't know exactly what you max first as an AP Tryndamere. Most Tryndameres just max Bloodlust first no matter what. But the spin is where the damage is out for AP Tryndamere. And so, I'm a little bit interested in seeing what our Tryndamere is doing. He should be going AD, and yep, he is. He does have the Berserk Trees, he does have that Vamp Scepter, which you need. Not necessarily what a Vampiric Scepter builds into, but you just need the base lifesteal. And you can turn it into something way later on down the road, but most people just leave it as a Vamp Scepter for the majority of the game. Fiddlesticks is of course coming down to cover the lane with his red buff self. I'm of course being a little bit aggressive here, using my headbutt. My mana getting low. I'm gonna have to use my heal in a second, and going to pop that last potion. Lane for maybe a little bit more, but I'm gonna have to eventually yield the lane to him. Meanwhile, Kog'Maw is of course dominating Casted. You can't even see really where that's all landing, but Kog'Maw is able to land a W2 or 2 onto Casted here. And Kog'Maw is really overextended for a champion that has no escape, so I'm a little bit surprised there, but he did of course see that Fiddlesticks was covering the bottom lane, so perhaps that is indeed what it is. I haven't seen Leona yet, despite the fact that she reconnected in. There she is coming out of the bush with a gap closing attack. And I'm going to go ahead and recall after getting poked down rather hard here in this little bush over here. And I'm not really going to bother going any farther back since I can see them both in Kog'Maw. I'm not going to be able to get there in time. Tryndamere though, diving Gangplank, and so he's going to go ahead and feed Leona a kill. She is underleveled, so that will help out, both experience and gold. But Nasus still hasn't reconnected, and remember, he's a champion that scales very well into the late game if he's able to farm early game in the laning phase, so this is going to really affect Nasus as far as his ability to farm his Q, aside from the fact that he's going to be horribly underleveled, more so than Leona since she didn't return first, and plus she's not as reliant on that Q farm. Then again, I guess if we can get some early global gold, it won't hurt him so bad, but it doesn't look like that it will be the case, as I'm going to go ahead and be really mean to Malzahar, but I know when to leave. Time is now, as Jarvan does go ahead and poke his face out of the bush while we're staying on this side. Fiddlesticks is of course going to go ahead and get his blue buff, although he is fairly low when I glanced at him, so not too certain there. He needs to go drain some wolves before he goes gangside lane, so he's going to go ahead and do exactly that. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Tryndamere gets killed apparently on his tower. Presumably from the Gangplank DOT or a parlay. My guess is that Tryndamere ulted at 1 HP and the Gangplank dot killed him once it wore off. But we'll never know since we got info there. The Gangplank going to go ahead and use his ability to grant extra attack damage and attack speed, I believe, to him and all of that to bring down that tower. I'm of course going to go ahead and go after Malzahar with a flash from Fiddlesticks, and we're going to go ahead and get a kill on the top lane. And so we're doing fairly okay there. I did have to recall that one time, so the tower did take fairly good damage, but we are able to score a kill up there, so the ratio the current kills and deaths are going to be 3 to 2. So things are currently in our favor as no towers are down. No dragons have been done that we know of since they have no jungler. We fairly know where they are at all times, although currently mid and bottom lane are missing, and one person from the top lane. And Nasus has finally reconnected to the games at the almost 10-minute mark, 9 minutes and 40 seconds, 9 minutes and 38 seconds if you want to include that. I'm going to go ahead and say hi. And so Nasus has in fact moved a few steps, and he's going to use his gold to get Ninja Tabby, get a Sight Ward, and a health potion, and just immediately start heading down to the bottom lane where there is no tower to protect him. And I believe he's still level 1 since we haven't killed any towers and netted any global experience. Fiddlesticks though channeling his ultimate coming out against Jarvan, not certain that this is the best choice. And Malzahar doing a really nice juke there. Gonna go ahead and escape Fiddlesticks and me, and so that was a bit of a fail ultimate by Fiddlesticks, but couldn't be helped. We're gonna go ahead and just last hit that lane and see what's what. Caston not really able to do what he does best, and that's go to other lanes and gank hard. Tryndamere, of course, waiting to gank the lane himself, trying to get Kog'Maw to overextend, so Caston sort of playing it safe farther back, but he does go ahead and he does get exhausted, he does get slowed. Not certain if Kog'Maw is going to go down. There is an ignite, and he is in fact going to go ahead and die to the Kassadin Tryndamere combo. And with, I believe that Tryndamere was ghosting, I could be wrong. With the spin to win and Bloodlust, he's going to go ahead and be okay and not even get hit by the passive Ithacan Surprise, where Kog'Maw after death is basically a moving bomb, and he's not able to land that explosion on Tryndamere no matter what. Jarvan 4 does go ahead and peek his face over near Baron, and decides that he doesn't really want to go to the mid lane, and comes back to the top lane to be versus me all alone. Speaking of being all alone, it looks like Malzahar does go ahead and face check into the brush that has Tryndamere in it, and he gets picked off fairly quickly. And so top lane doing really well with the ganks, and getting the enemy to overextend, and the enemy of course getting punished for it. And Jarvan's of course is going to be able to cover his lane just fine, I believe. I mean, sure, the chicken's going to get thrown out, but nothing's really going to happen to him. Gangplank, meanwhile, is of course going to be fighting Caston. Not sure who's going to win this. Caston looks like he's going for a Catalyst, but doesn't quite have it yet, or Boots, although they're not as essential on Kassadin, as you can Rift Walk against your ultimate, which is basically a flash that does damage. Nasus getting chased by Leona there, and probably what's going to be the most balanced fight for him for the time being. But he really needs experience, he really needs gold, and he really needs Q farm. And as you can see, he hasn't been back to the base yet, but he also hasn't used his Sight Ward or his health potion. Would have thought he'd use that Sight Ward over here on Dragon, but it looks like he hasn't been given that opportunity. And instead he's going to go ahead and do a tiny bit of jungling, it looks like, possibly take these wolves. Yep, that is in fact going to go ahead and be his plan, auto-attacking the little wolves until he can get a Q off. Although, I'm a little bit surprised there that he's just going to go ahead and take all that, but a person's a person. Meanwhile, Tryndamere is of course going to be diving Gangplank, although he's going to turn around after he takes a shot from the tower, so he doesn't have his ultimate, or he's going to go ahead and play it safe a little bit. We are up 5 kills to 2, so things are good there. Tryndamere, meanwhile, goes ahead and chickens the Jarvan and spins away with his life. Probably going to use that Bloodlust, or save it in case he's getting pursued. It looks like he's going to go ahead and save it for now. Meanwhile, I'm of course running into the Kog'Maw, which is basically the tank killer. And even though I pop my heal, I do go ahead and die. It looked like my dot, but maybe it was that artillery. It looked like it was a little bit in front of me. And so now, Tryndamere's going to go ahead and get caught over here by the entire enemy team. You're going to have to do Undying Rage before you can really get any damage in there. And so I'm of course just wondering why Kog'Maw was even up here in the first place. Since, you know, the entire team was down here when I last looked. But he was waiting to gank, and so it did work out when I came into support. And now they're going to go ahead and be up 2 towers now, which if you guys watched the end of the last recording, does come out to about 1,500 gold global, or, you know, gold advantage as far as team to team, not counting last hits. And if we go ahead and look at the last hits, for the moment, looks like Nasus has 8, Leona has 31. Looks like they are ahead in last hits too. Phil6 is having the highest on our team with 54. Purple team's going to be having the highest with Gangplank, or no, with Kog'Maw at 83. Malzahar only at 37 last hit, so that's because he is in a duo lane. And while I'm of course looking at that, Kog'Maw is going to go ahead and die. But as he dies, the Sithkin Surprise is going to go ahead and chase Nasus all the way up top and pick him off with that passive explosion that does true damage. Alistar coming in to try and cover this lane, going to go ahead and headbutt Leona, and we might be able to pick up the kill on Leona. Nope, the tower's going to go ahead and go down, and me and Caston are going to go ahead and back off. And if you look at Caston's mana, he doesn't really have enough to do too much, as it costs, I believe, 100 mana for a Rift Walk, and like 80 plus for his other spells, so he's going to go ahead and recall, play it safe. And he's going to go ahead and finally finish that Catalyst after the laning phase ends. The laning phase usually does end by around the 15-minute mark is when the first turret falls or people start really roaming, but it can end a little bit before that. It can end before the first tower falls just by people constantly changing lanes, and it can end after that, you know, via 20-minute mark or 25-minute mark, and everyone's just still laning for the most part. Speaking of laning, Gangplank is of course going to go ahead and defend this snowball against his tower out here and be the only visible champion. Now Leona's poking her head out top. We could probably go ahead and do Dragon, but Phil6 is going to go ahead and get that. And speaking of Dragon, I'm going to go ahead and CV it to make sure that it is still there. I'm going to go ahead and ping that, you know, hey, we should go do Dragon since there are only going to be 2 champions up here. Gangplank's in the bottom lane. Got this whole section warded over here. So the only person we have to worry about is Gangplank coming up. Although it looks like Tryndamere wants to take the long way around. There is going to be no wards expended. There's no wriggles held by the team, although Leon does have inventory. And oh my goodness, Jarvan 4 does come in belatedly from this little hit spot, and tossing charge steal Dragon. And so with that Dragon steal, we didn't see them coming. Looks like they're going to go ahead and lose the team fight. But Leona is pushing top rather hard, and it was a 4 for 2, although they did get Dragon, so I'm not certain if it was worth it. Dragon, of course, giving, let's see, 500 gold, and then 9 times 5, that's 450. So Dragon giving 1350 global gold. Not certain if 2 extra kills are worth it, even if you count in assists, but I don't know, we'll have to see. Dragon experience versus champion experience as well. It's about a fair trade, I suppose. Leona, of course, coming in, and this is something that you have to remember, is that the fact that they are dead does allow us to push rather obviously there. Leona, of course, turning on her shield, although she does get silenced. And double exhaust going down here. Leona is going to go ahead and miss that skill shot, and he's going to go ahead and wither Leona so she doesn't bother chasing, and they're going to get out just fine. Tryndamere did just go ahead and recall 4 items. Phil6 coming in to support the lane. He did build a Magi Soul Stealer, I'm guessing due to the good work he was doing in the top lane. And we do go ahead and see that Jarvan 4 and company are going to go ahead and invade the bottom jungle of blue team. And so he's going to go ahead and get away from the golems and get down here. Meanwhile, Caston's telling Alistar to just keep pushing top, even though I'm saying I'm blind. I can't really push my lane, you know, and so he's going to give me advice to go ahead and buy a ward, and I was really thinking about it, but you can see I couldn't really buy a ward. The last time I recalled, I don't know if you noticed. So I'm going to go ahead and back up now, since they are all MIA. And here's the funny bit. If I recall now, I'll have enough for a Heart of Gold, and I still won't have enough for a ward. So I'm going to go ahead and run to do Wolves so I can have enough to buy a ward and a Heart of Gold. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. See, I can remember my thought process from a few days ago, as it does take that long to catch up to the games that I've played. Even though I'm not really playing in excess of them now, Tryndamere does discover Malzahar, but can't really find him, so he's going to go ahead and just head down to the bottom lane, trying to get this out of the tower really hard. Caston laning up against a red buff Jarvan 4, and seems to be doing okay. Gangplank coming out of the fog though, And Trinity going to go ahead and try to chase, showing his face there, but Malzahar coming down. It looks like it's going to be a 3v2, soon to be a 3v3, provided Fiddlesticks can actually get into this fight, and he could possibly start channeling his ultimate here. And yep, it is going to be the case. He's going to go ahead and hit Malzahar right in the face, especially with that fear and exhaust and ignite. Malzahar is going to go down to the Kassadin. Trinity though is going to go ahead and get ignited, but with his endless rage closing out, he does go ahead and get pulled into the ring, and with a very light spin is going to go ahead and die to the gangplank, forcing Kassadin to go ahead and back off. Leona though pops up, and so she goes ahead and lands a stun and charge onto Kassadin, and now W's from Kog'Maw are going to go ahead and finish the kill on Kassadin. That is going to be a double buff Kog'Maw, which is fairly scary, pushing that bottom lane. Fiddlesticks is of course going to go ahead and have to back off from that. Nace is going to go ahead and come down from the middle lane, not certain if he should have done that. And I'm of course just going to keep on pushing the top lane, as I did see them all in the bottom lane, and just keep on farming. Trinity of course is going to go ahead and say, Retirada! And so Kassadin's going to go ahead and shout English with an exclamation point, and Trinity is going to go ahead and say okay. So having a little bit of fun there. English just sounds funny to me for some reason. Sounds like a quote from a movie or a book maybe. And Trinity of course going to go ahead and go into the fight, get exhausted, but that fear did land on Kog'Maw. So nothing's going to happen there. Kog'Maw's just going to eat a tower shot. Trinity is going to have to leave. Kog'Maw's going to go ahead and jump in and do a very late Q after auto-attacking a minion and eating up a ton of Kog'Maw blues. He's just devouring Kassadin's HP, and looks like Leona and Kog'Maw are going to be able to push the lane down. Now remember that Kog'Maw is building AD. You can tell that he already has that best friend sword. He does have 2 Vampiric Scepters stacked up, which is a little bit odd. You usually don't see that. But Nace is going to go ahead and run into that Leona and Kog'Maw and die horribly. Now, Exhaust is on cooldown this time around. Trinimir's back for some more, but he does get stunned. And of course his armor is Animar to go ahead and get reduced. And Kog'Maw does pick up the kill on Tryndamere, as he apparently did not have his ultimate. I'm of course just going to go ahead and cover the lanes, as that's basically what I'm going to be doing for this bit, despite holding on to my lane for as best as I could. And so I'm going to go ahead and try to find a way to get to the bottom lane without running into it. But oh no, top is snowballed now, so I'm going to go ahead and start running over there. Nasus might be better off suited toward that, and instead of heading off towards that bottom lane, it looks like he's figured that, hey, the enemy champions have left, but no, they have not. You can see Leona lurking around trying to come in from behind. Fiddlesticks standing in Malzahar's pool gets suppressed, ulted by Malzahar, and thus gets picked off by that entire enemy team, or by 3 members of the enemy team, I should say. I'm of course going to be still pushing off this wave, and Jarvan forward peeking, getting hit by Nasus and Kog'Maw, but not really able to burst him down. Tryndamere wants to go ahead and get in the action. Doesn't really have an Infinity Edge, just a Zeal and a BF Sword, but he's working towards it. And looks like he's going to be doing a little bit of free damage with that AoE that they're all standing in. And he does have a shield, so that's going to help out his damage a little bit. And it looks like he's going to be building in Age the Legion, possibly, or a Spirit Visage, one or the other. Leona is charging on Tryndamere, who is forced to use his ultimate. Silence is put down on Kassadin, so he wasn't able to do too much, and he's forced to Riftwalk out of that fight while Tryndamere dies. And so things are looking pretty bad. Fiddlesticks channeling his ultimate out in the open, so they all go ahead and back off, but Malzahar was a little bit too slow, gets caught on the very edge, and dies horribly. I'm of course going to go ahead and cover the mid lane now, since it is pushed up to the tower, instead of continually pushing this top lane. And so I'm just going to go ahead and be the hockey board for this. Not necessarily the best champion suited for the job, but it's the one they had open. Ace is of course going to go ahead and get chased by Jarvan 4 and all of that. He does have his ultimate up. He did wither the Jarvan 4, and he did all in that pool. Kassadin did not get that kill on that. This is in fact going to go ahead and go down. Nace is going to go ahead and die next, and now Gangplank's going to go ahead and put down another parlay down onto Kassadin. Kassadin's going to go ahead and have to go back. Gangplank's probably recalled by now. I'm of course now at really low HP since Kog'Maw came up from the bush down here, which is why he was not in that fight. And so because he finally go ahead and went and stopped my snowballing, which, you know, you can see over here, I am going to go ahead and have to recall finally. I didn't really get too much gold as I was focused mainly on killing the minions, and that is, of course, very bad of me. But I do now currently have 83 last hits, which is at the top of my team, good for me, but is still rather paltry compared to Kog'Maw's 150, Gangplank's 123, and I guess is ahead of everyone else on their team. Meanwhile, on my team, Nasus only has 40 last hits for last hit depending champion. This is Q's and not Q's. That's just terrible. I mean, sure he was disconnected, but Leona herself has 63, and she's been called a champion that can't really farm that well by the community, so that's a little bit interesting. Meanwhile, Dragon's going to go ahead and get pinged. Tryndamere, of course, was coming in down here to try to kill Gangplank. Is going to go ahead and die. Dragon's going to go ahead and be revealed to be not there. Caston running into a Leona. Going to go ahead and back off. Leona's going to go ahead and back off. And now, like, those are and teleport in. Caston's going to get into the fight. I'm going to go ahead and, of course, be tanking for this. And I'm going to go ahead and just run off. As I see Jarvan 4, I want to at least pop his bubble. Maybe get some CC on him. And I go ahead and see Gangplank getting blue. This is something we could interrupt fairly well if Caston didn't notice. But oh no, there's going to turn. He's going to go ahead and come around. This is just going to be a very bad move overall. Malzahar starts casting his suppression onto Caston, but I go ahead and headbutt him out of the way. And so Caston lives, but then gets exhausted after first walking in. He could be okay. We'll see when he make it out. It looks like he'll make it out. So decentish peel, but because I was unable to get an AoE Q off, I am going to go ahead and die horribly. And now Caston's going to go ahead and teleport into 3 of them, and Tryndamere's going to go ahead and pick up the kill on Jarvan 4. Expensive Leona killing Kassadin, and Gangplank's going to go ahead and be running away from Tryndamere. Not something you see every day, but now and then, just depends on how fed it gets. And Ace is, of course, going to go ahead and try to kill Leona. So a little bit of split 1v1 fights going on here. Looks like there's going to be a little bit of reunion going on here, but Malzahar coming in to cover should make blue team back off, and indeed they do. And Caston's talking about how he's the one that's not scared to go in with low health compared to his allies. And so Caston was apparently just being brave because he expected everyone else to be brave there. As for, you know, why he dived into all of them. But bottom lane's a little bit snowballed. Top lane's a little bit snowballed. Mid lane looks fine, but Leona cutting very heavily out of position. It's withered, drain ulted. She does go ahead and use her ultimate and then charge back in to try to juke, but feels like drain too strong. But then again, so is Malzahar and Gangplank ultimate. So I'm gonna go ahead and beat that ultimate just fine. Run in there. We did see Fiddlesticks get evaporated by Kog'Maw from behind. So despite the fact that I'm tanking all of that, Nasus is basically just running away. Caston wasn't in that fight. Tryndamere wasn't in that fight. And so that was an overall loss. Despite a fairly decent engage, it was just not the best time for our team. I should have just probably backed off instead of going in there. Not too certain. However, Jarvan is going to go ahead and put his ultimate onto Nasus and pick up the kill on him. Caston's going to basically do what he can, which is throw harassment, but now it's going to be 4 champions on this tower. Purple caster minion, or purple melee minion? I think it was purple melee minion. The underdog, the little known, I guess, husband to the popular wife of purple caster minion. And Tryndamere trying to get them off the tower, failing rather badly. The lack of minions doing a better job, but a double exhaust going down on Jarvan. And Tryndamere, Ghost getting popped on Tryndamere. So he really wants to kill Jarvan, but he is silenced, and he does see a Malzahar there, so he's going to go ahead and abandon Fiddlesticks to his work. And now Tryndamere's going to go ahead and run into her late. Caston's going to get in here. Kog'Maw's going to die. Caston's going to go ahead and try to get out. But it looks like Tryndamere will live. Caston will live. And now Alistar's going to fight. Going to go ahead and pick up the kill onto Jarvan. Looks like it's going rather well. Now Gangplank is ulting, which something about that is that it does slow. But Leona's going to go down. Now it's going to be up to Nasus, Gangplank, and Kog'Maw to kill Gangplank. And things are getting fairly bad. I have almost no mana, so I can't really do anything other than use heal, which I am going to go ahead and do for that Sheen proc. And he's still alive with that fancy 386 heal. And he could maybe kill Nasus with his ultimate on, but finally he does go ahead and take him down, and so it was a 5-for-4 in that fight. But he literally out-healed me and Nasus' DPS. If you look, I don't believe he has any armor. He does have a Warmog, so it is helping him out a little bit, but he did just buy that. His Bloodthirster, I don't know if he had that yet or not, possibly. And he, of course, had that Phantom Dancer and the cooldown. And of course, Caston's going to go ahead and curse and say no wonder the forums are complaining about Gangplank, but that's a fairly interesting Gangplank build. Normally you see an Atma's Impaler and a Warmogs, but he's going to go Phantom Dancer and Warmogs and then Bloodthirster, and I'm guessing that's going to be an Infinity Edge since he does have a Phantom Dancer with cooldown reduction boots. That's just really interesting as far as how that goes. Of course, then again, I have been experimenting with that tanky DPS Sivir, where I go ahead and get the Berserker Greaves and a Bloodthirster, and then I get, in the order that the team needs, an Atma's Impaler, a Warmogs, a Fawn, and possibly a second Warmogs, or a Frozen Mallet, depending if we need it. And Trinmer going to go ahead and run into Caston, and there's going to be a Duel of the Ages. Trinmer's going to go ahead and pop his ultimate, and he's able to pick up the Cogmaw, but via AoEs, he's going to go ahead and go down. I'm going to go ahead and have my ultimate, but Phil's going to go ahead and go down, and I'm going to go ahead and pop them all into the air, except for Leona, who was silenced, and I'm going to go down. Caston's doing whatever little damage he can, which at the moment is really little since he's an assassin who's building tanky AP with a Rod of Ages going on an Abyssal and Sork Shoes. So it's going to have 40 Magic Pen and maybe 200 AP by 31 minutes in, so he's definitely tapering off. Not quite how I like my Caston. I like my Caston to be a little bit more glass cannon than that. As I don't feel he's really doing the damage to warrant it. But then again, Cogmaw is of course being really scary. They are up now 32-22. And they did get that dragon. They are up on towers now, which is even more global gold. 5 towers to 1. Dragon is of course flagged to be up. And Baron's getting pinged also, so possibly we could be doing that. And I'm going to go ahead and make a pun over here in-game via the chat system, all telling GP to friend me after the game, so whenever we're both queued up somehow and you're on the enemy team, or the Gangplank's on the enemy team, I should say, I'll know to pick Jax. Or just ban Gangplank if I see that I'm on the same queue as him. We don't actually get away with it, and Gangplank ultimate picking off Fiddlesticks while he's doing Baron. Meanwhile, the double exhaust going off again on the Urban Trinmer combo. Trinmer, of course, at that carry status where he has Infinity Edge and his Zeal. Of course, a Phantom Scepter is able to go ahead and pick up that double kill, but he is going to be okay without even proccing that Bloodlust. He's just going to go ahead and start recalling. Probably going to go ahead and cover that top lane when he recalls. Cogmaw popping up, so I'm going to have to pop my ultimate just so I don't die from Cogmaw, as he is extremely tanky. My own build is a little bit odd, as I did rush that Shirley's Reverie. I have a Sheen, I have a Negatron Cloak, I have a Heart of Gold, and I'm just trying my best to hold on. Trying to use that Shirley's Reverie for better positioning, the cooldown reduction, and helping to just move around, get inside of Cogmaw's range or escape Cogmaw's range, as he's the person I'm really scared of for the most part. Gangplank not so much, although he was, being a fairly strong carry there. Leona is now taken over the mid lane, gonna go ahead and just keep on farming with her at 69 last hits now, 70 last hits with Leona. She does have that Force of Nature, so Caston's damage on her is basically nullified. Jarvan has a Banshee's Veil, so Caston's doing almost no damage to him. Malzahar's just getting some HP, possibly a Catalyst over here, very likely so, a Catalyst. Cogmaw still has that Madrid's Razor, but she went for 2 Bloodthirsters, not certain how I feel about that, and a Zeal, very interesting there. And we're going to go ahead and just be spinning away from Gangplank, as he does not have his ultimate yet, I am presuming. Going to go ahead and eat a Parlay, and something that, oh, here comes the flash, immediate ultimate from Tryndamere, immediate ultimate from Fiddlesticks, and with the flash from Fiddlesticks, gonna go ahead and punish that Gangplank for using his flash aggressively. Meanwhile, Alistar is gonna go ahead and be forced to Q. And so, die. Ranger right here. Kog'Maw, of course. I mean, Caston's gonna go ahead and die here. And Caston's gonna go ahead and talk about how it was a horrible idea following me. And for the record, since I know what happened here, despite talking about all of that Tryndamere drama going over there, was that I saw Leona over here out of position, and I was like, hey, you know what, I'll come around here and headbutt Leona, and Caston's in the area and we'll do damage. Well, I got about to here, where I was spotted by Kog'Maw, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and CC them, turn on my ultimate, and run away. But then again, then Caston ran into the fight, got killed, and so I died trying to get them. And that's how that fiasco turned out in the long term, me being a baddie and engaging after I knew it was a bad idea. Kog'Maw, of course, and the entire purple team do have Baron, and so things are getting really grim here. Cass and Kog'Maw picking off Tryndamere with a living artillery, and now they're going to go ahead and push mid lane, and things are looking just fairly grim for Team Blue. And speaking of, looks like Gangplank and Alistar are going to go ahead and pick off those six right here. Fairly easy peasy. There's going to be a huge snowball pushing down this bottom turret, which is where Caston's going to go ahead and pop up. Gangplank shortly thereafter. There's Driving Forward covering in case anyone wants to come in and defend from this side or this side. He does have that bubble to prevent it, making Caston have to fall back. I'm of course going to go ahead and just be standing over here. Nasus only a little bit behind at level 15. Everyone else at level 17. The minute he thought living artillery like it was nothing. Kog'Maw using Ghost, and I'm going to try to headbutt out of that, but look at that damage. I take like 3-4 shots from Kog'Maw, and my health is disintegrated. Meanwhile, Nasus is going to get picked off. I'm going to go ahead and get ultimated from Alzahar, despite being only at like 40% health, and that's going to be 2 more kills for them as they get down this inhibitor. And it looks like the game is going to be won by this purple team. Although there's too many towers to eat through, they're just in a very demanding lead. Tryndamere is of course able to pick up the kill on Leona. He is carrying. I don't think he had to use his ultimate there, so he could possibly come in here and do damage. But then again, that is a very tanky setup. Tryndamere of course trying to sneak by, make it so that way they have to fight under a tower. They will. He's going to go ahead and spin in and pop his ultimate, but he does have that DOT. He is silenced. He does have an Ignite on him as well, and he's going to go ahead and get picked off without killing anybody. Caston coming into the fight, not able to really do anything there, so he's going to immediately leave. And it looks like they're going to go ahead and continue their push and knock down this outer tower. And, I'm going to go ahead and run in here trying to save the tower with a headbutt and a Q and my ultimate to tank. There's a bit of focus. And now I really got to back up with a headbutt, and you can see that as soon as my ultimate wore off, I just got eaten up, losing the majority of my HP there. But I'm going to go ahead and knock Driving Forward, which can go ahead and make Gangplank move back. And it looks like he might even be able to turn this into Initiate with Driving Forward now blocked by his wall. But Gangplank's going to go ahead and eventually die. Driving Forward is eventually going to go ahead and die. And so that looked like it was a 2 for 2. Now it's we're still not alive yet, but that was now it's 3 for 3. But Tryndamere, you need to be alive again. Remember, Tryndamere did die for nothing earlier, so that was a actual 3 for 3. And he's going to go ahead and take out this super minion and clear off the waves, no problem. But as anyone knows who watched the Riot tutorials while they were downloading the League of Legends client, even though they are of course heavily outdated, it didn't contain useful tips such as 1 inhibitor you can recover from fairly easily, 2 inhibitors it gets a little bit tricky, 3 inhibitors you've lost the game, it's just a matter of time. And they didn't really say it that bluntly or that quickly, you know, they had little fancy examples, but that is basically the gist of things. Once you're down 3 inhibitors, the game is fairly lost for you, especially if you don't have an inhibitor down or almost an inhibitor down for their team. Meanwhile, Baron's getting pinged, but remember they did just get Baron, so they're not Baroning. Fairly certain about that one. And of course they do have this last set of outer turrets to go through before we get to the inhibitor turrets. So unless we can win a team fight out here, it's not going to work. Leona, of course, going to go ahead and charge in and stun Tryndamere and exhaust him. Kog'Maw throwing down that W with that red buff, which is going to be a true damage over time. And he's going to go ahead and go down on Gangplank. Fear's going to go down on Gangplank. And now it looks like Phil6 is going to go ahead and die trying to drain. Kog'Maw's going to run in now. And he's going to get bursted. And so Alistar, trying to come in to peel someone off, is going to go ahead and with his ultimate on, die himself despite queuing. He just very slow death. Yep, he even had QSS at the end. It just wasn't enough. He popped that QSS way too late. And Hayu Shirelia's on Cassidy, but he didn't get closed in by that Jarvan ultimate. Didn't even talk about that. And now it looks like they are finally going to DPS the tower down. And with Gangplank's ultimate and style, they are going to go ahead and bring down the Nexus. And that's going to be a defeat. So, a little bit disheartening because I was, of course, on the losing team for this one. But I hope you guys enjoyed the match. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. This is Observious, signing